guys? Hey, how's it? I'm Junior Cakeaway, Virginia. Welcome to the podcast. And first, we got to do the attitude of gratitude. Okay, this is a Law of Attraction podcast. And it may change into something else. I don't know. It's not going to change into a strictly comedy podcast. But I can tell you, I had a couple emails that go, bro, when you gonna do your comedy? Okay, I'll explain maybe on another podcast, but okay, maybe on another one. All right, okay. All right, so attitude of gratitude. Our last country was Bahrain. Okay, so that makes 48 countries that receive our broadcast, and they listen mostly on iPhones. They because we look over here at the demos, and we see that the majority of the people actually listen to us on Apple Podcasts, 60%. Spotify is 14%, and then Ghana is actually picking up. And Ghana is a podcast platform in India. So we have some Indians listening. So no jokes. No, wait. On the radio, let me explain. On the radio, we used to always, when we said the word Indians, we used to always say feather or dot, because okay, you get it. All right, never mind. So we had to be specific is what I'm saying. All right, so the demo's like 28. Okay, the 28 to 34-year-olds, 28 plus, 28 to dead is our demos, our strong demos. We have a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds, and then it kind of drops off. The 23 to 27-year-olds are not so strong. It kind of goes down, and then it's amazing that we can get all these stats like right here, like right away. Male demos, 81%. Females went down 1%. 19 used to be 20. It's kind of like up and down. So girls are like that though. Really, they're like, they're interested, and then they go away. Then they come back, and then I keep telling you guys with the, when we talk about relationships. But anyway, thank you for being here on the podcast. Now, this podcast is kind of, it's going to be a little awkward for me, only because I'm a boomer, and only because, expressing my feelings or telling my story, that kind of stuff online or in, let's say in this kind of venue, right? Podcast is not the kind of thing that is natural. And I have fought this for a long time. And one of my friends was like, dude, look, you always talk about the people that you develop online. And he's talking about other platforms, right? Like your social media and stuff. And he's going, you always do this. He goes, but you never talk about you. You never talk about your struggles. You never talk about your, whatever, like your challenges, your struggles. Like people want to know about your struggles. They want to know about you. They don't know about you. And for a long time, I kept me a big secret. And I still do, right? Like I still don't go online and blurt my feelings out there. It's not like I have feelings to blurt, but I'm just saying, like, how I talked about, like, I don't know how many podcasts ago, right? But I told you, like, when I see guys putting pictures of themselves in the emergency room to get sympathy from people, like, I look at that as, like, yeah, being a cat, okay? There's another word for it, but yeah. So I try not to swear on the podcast. But yeah, to me that is so, like, desperate for, I don't know, attention, for desperate for somebody to care or somebody to go, oh, poor thing, So back in the day, we were taught to suck it up, right? If you got hurt or something, we could be at the park, we could be playing baseball, and somebody could get hit by the ball, like somebody would bat the ball, and it would be like a line drive to center field and hit somebody in the head, right? And it wasn't like, oh, Johnny, poor Johnny. We made sure he was okay, but we was like, okay, you're all right. Walk him off. That's how we did it. And that's just an example, okay? But a lot of stuff. We used to jump bicycles off ramps. We used to build plyboard ramps and jump bicycles off. And sometimes we would fall on our backs because we would flip the bike in midair. And sometimes, we used to, do some pretty dangerous stuff. And, when somebody was lying there on the ground, we didn't like call an ambulance. We didn't, we went, hey, you're all right. And the guy on the ground, I gotta tell you this, the guy on the ground, no matter how bad he was hurting, he went, yeah, I'm okay. Because there's pride involved, okay? So yeah, I guess maybe there's some pride involved, but that was the old school. The old school taught you as a man, as an old school person, as a boomer, as somebody who was back in the day, right? You don't go, seeking sympathy. You don't go, doing all those things. You be a man. You suck it up. And, psychologists and things, and I've read the reports, and they come out with stuff, and they go, oh, no, you need to share your feelings. You need to tell people how you feel, okay? Now, you guys, for the dating stuff, I tell you guys, if you're going to do that, that's like driving the girl away from you, like, fast, okay? So don't do that for dating, and don't do that in a relationship with a girl, okay? But, if you want to go ahead and tell your story, like what happened to you, now that's a little bit different, okay? That's not being needy. That's saying, all right, look, this happened, and, whatever. So what I'm about to tell you is just what happened, okay? And it's kind of like stuff I've never said before in public, ever, okay? But it's time to tell the story. Now, I'm going to tell the story in such a way that I'm going to be careful, because it may hurt a lot of people. And these are people either close to me or people in my family. And some people, they have passed on. But I don't want to hurt anybody in my family. And I don't want to hurt anyone that I know that may be involved. So if you hear me describing something or whatever, please don't feel like I'm saying something because, like, I don't know, because I'm blaming you or whatever, or like it's, it's he had a terrible childhood. It was his family. No. There were certain things that happened back in the day that we had no control over. Okay, and I know you're like, okay, Junior, what you talking about? Okay, so I'm gonna tell my story, but I'm gonna tell it carefully, because it is not my mission. My mission in life is to help other people find their voice, okay? Find their voice in life, to come out and be confident and find themselves and their voice, right? Because your voice is yourself. It's the energy in your body. Your body is not yourself, okay? And so I know that's kind of deep, right? but okay, but that's what I'm talking about. Okay, and that's my mission. That's my whole mission in life, and I still do it till today. I do it with my voice acting. I do it with the voice training. I do it with everything. I do it with the life coaching. I do it with everything I do. I help people find their voice in life, okay, because I did not have a voice for a long time, okay? Now, let me take you back to the original, like way back. Let me take you back to, like, when I was born, okay? Now, you have to understand that I grew up in a different world. You have to understand that there's things about human beings that they did not know, okay? It was still there. We still, we were still human beings, and we still had flaws, okay? But there was stuff that people didn't know. And one of the things they didn't know about was ADHD. And I was born with ADHD. I've never said that in public. Never, ever. Ever. I started putting it down on Facebook only because I met this guy that I'm involved with in business now, and he's in the mainland. He's in California, and he has ADHD. And he goes, dude, you got to look at ADHD like superpowers. And I started listening to him, and one day I just broke down and cried. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that men cannot cry, okay, but I cried, but I didn't cry because I was, oh, poor Junior. No, I cried because there was somebody else like me out there who was talking to me, who described the same things that I went through when I was younger. So I hope in telling this story that I help you or somebody you know. And if it's somebody you know that has ADHD, or someone who has a child with ADHD, and you can send this podcast to them and they can hear it and they go, oh, wow, yeah, him too. Oh, he's like me. Oh, yeah, I'm going through the same thing. Like, oh, you see what I mean? Okay, then do that. Please do that, because that's the purpose of this podcast. Okay, I said jokingly, I think on a platform, like, okay, it's about time to tell the story. I'm gonna come out. I posted a Facebook story with it, right? And so anyway, here goes, right? All right. So now that we know that the intent of this podcast, okay, the intent is not to say, well, all these people beat me up and these people tortured me and these people, no, it's just what happened, okay? So I was born with ADHD, and right around, I don't know, like 3-4 years old, I was extremely hyperactive, okay? And that's the hyperactivity, the HD part, right? And so I have trouble concentrating, and always have. I'm made that way. God made me that way, okay? Or let's just say I turned out that way. If you don't believe in God, I turned out that way, okay? But anyway, so I cannot concentrate on some stuff. Like, I go in different directions. You guys know, because you listen to the podcast. I go way out here to left field, and then I try to bring the idea back. So you guys know, I mean, if you don't know I'm ADHD by listening to the podcast, then here's what you know. Like, hey, Junior, bro, he's like, oh, he go all over the place. And part of the reason I go all over the place in the podcast, though, is to give you all the information, right? And everything I can think of as I'm thinking of it, and then we're moving in real time. Okay, anyway, so I was born with ADHD, very, very hyperactive, 3, 4, 5 years old, okay? Now, in the old days, there was no medicine for ADHD when I was born, like, okay, and I was born, like, I'm not going to tell you guys. It's a long time ago, okay? Well, I'm not going to tell you guys when I was born, but I can tell you that there was no medicine to treat this. Psychologists, psychiatrists, all these people, they had no idea. They did not know what was doing this in kids or people. And so I grew up where they couldn't give me Coca-Cola, because it would just make me zing. You know how when you give kids nowadays, kids nowadays, there's a lot of ADHD kids, okay, because their energy is being suppressed, okay, because they're watching cartoons, right? They're doing video games, but they're not getting out and doing the physical stuff as much. Yeah, there are a lot of physical kids, doing physical stuff out there, but there's a lot of kids that don't. Okay, and there's a lot of components, or I don't want to say components. There's a lot of things in society, okay, that's like cell phones, tablets, all these things that the kids are on, okay, that actually help to bring these symptoms out in kids, and make them more ADHD or whatever, ADD, okay, attention deficit disorder, okay, and then attention deficit hyperactive disorder, something like that. I didn't even pay too much attention to it, because I wasn't like, poor thing, I have this, I'm afflicted. No, I didn't even think like that. I was having a good time. I was amping. Okay. And if you guys listen to the podcast, you can hear it. Okay. Because I drink coffee in the morning. I got coffee right here, and I drink coffee, and yeah, I do amp, but you know what? I feel good. Now, here's one thing that I found out recently. I found out that coffee, okay, is something that calms and soothes people with ADHD. I also found out that cigarettes do that too. They have a calming effect. Okay, so a lot of times when you see people that are on medication for that kind of stuff, right, or psychological stuff, right, you see them smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. Okay, so because they gravitate to that, because it calms them. Okay, and I gotta tell you, Hawaiians, when I drink coffee, I love the trip. I love the amping, because I go amp. And I laugh and I have fun. And, now, if you look at it from the law of attraction side, and this is just a short sidetrack, okay? If you look at it from the law of attraction side, law of attraction says when you're happy and you laughing and you whatever, you're attracting everything into your life, okay? and a lot attracted into my life. Okay. Now back to the story. So ADHD, right? I used to smoke cigarettes for years and years and years when I was younger. Like in my, like from the time I was 14, and I quit once for like 9 years. And then I had a girlfriend that smoked. And so I started lighting her cigarettes and playing with them. Pretty soon I started smoking again. So finally I had to make a decision, right? And I think I told you guys how I quit smoking cigarettes. But, like I said, that's not a podcast, right? But anyway, the thing about it was that I started smoking again. And I had to make a decision. Okay, look, you make money with your voice. This is how you sing, you do radio, you do all these things. You're either going to do that or you're going to smoke. Which is it? And so I had to, make a choice and do that. Anyway, so that's what you got to know. So when you see somebody and they have like a mental disorder, because ADHD is a mental disorder. Yeah, I have a mental disorder. And it's very tough talking about it like to thousands and thousands of people. Okay, on the podcast, we have countries that are listening to me. Okay, but if you guys are in the other countries and you know somebody with this problem, okay, this might be an interesting podcast. All right, now let's get back to the thing. So when I was very young, I couldn't have Coke. I couldn't have anything that stimulated me. No stimulants whatsoever. That was caffeine. So no Coke, no tea, no coffee, no anything with stimulants in it, okay? Because that would just like put me through the roof. It's like when you see these little kids with ADHD and you give them a candy bar and all of a sudden, like they turn into somebody else, right? They're jumping all over the couch, all that stuff. So that was the first thing. Now, I looked at it like, oh, how come they can have and I cannot have? Well, that was the first thing that I remember, okay, like around 5. I remember as early as 4 years old. But 5, I remember feeling that way, like, wow, how come they can have soda? I cannot have soda. I could have soda, but I had to have 7-Up all the time. 7-Up, 7-Up, 7-Up. You know how tired I got of 7-Up? I wanted Coke. Back in the day, we just had 2 Hawaiians, right? We had 7-Up and Coke. And then they came out with, Sprite, which was just 7-Up with some lemon inside, whatever. Right? Okay, you know where I'm going with that. So then, right, it turned into other stuff. Okay? Because there was no medicine. My stepdad used to put this sign, okay? Now, I've had a couple of stepdads, okay? I had a real dad. I had a second dad who adopted me, okay, into a very, very wealthy family. And then I had a third stepdad after the wealthy family thing, right? My mom got divorced from that and then married this guy that I really loved and really felt close to for ever since I was 7 years old. And he just passed away. And I'm a lot older than 7. And so it was beautiful because I saw him there for my mom. He was there for my mom, which allowed my mom to be my mom, to be her. Like the things that she was put on earth to do, she did because he was the anchor and he was solid. He was comfortable with who he was. He was a secure man and he was the anchor. Okay. Now, he passed away. He was 92 years old. He passed away last year. Okay. So that's just a side thingy. Okay. Just to paint the picture. Okay. Now, my adopted dad used to put this sign on the icebox, and the sign said "think." Okay, that's all it said. It was just a sign that said "think." It was a small plastic. I don't know where he bought them from. I would like to get one because it reminded me to think. And they took me to a psychologist, and the psychologist said, "No, he's normal. He's just hyperactive. He's just overactive." So the thing was, okay, don't give him stimulants and focus him on whatever he needs to do. Okay, but I was in my head, Hawaiians. I was like all over. I was, and so I was raised in Honolulu Valley. Now, for you people outside of Hawaii, okay, because the majority of our audience is actually in California, Texas, and spread throughout the world, and then Hawaii. So for you people outside of Hawaii, Honolulu Valley was a very remote valley in those days. We could not get television. You could, if you had a UHF antenna, you could get a little bit of television, but it was very snowy and, whatever. So we didn't watch television. We listened to record albums. We listened to the radio. And I had this imagination thing. And so, I would listen to these live record recordings. There was the Don Ho show, and I listened to it, and I heard people cheering and whatever and all this stuff. When I grew up, then I discovered that, it was production. It was, there were people there, yeah, but they put in extra. And so the ambiance, right? All that stuff, right? And then when I would listen to radio shows and stuff and The Shadow and all these you can Google that, all these old stories, right? I used to listen to radio stories on the radio, and we used to turn off the lights in the house, and we used to just lie down on the couch and play the radio. And my imagination just went wild with this stuff because I could picture what they were talking about, right? So as a result, when I go on the radio, I can draw pictures with words. Okay, so I'm really good at doing that. That's one of my superpowers, and that's where I know it from, right? From when I was young. So I've always done that. I've always done that in my head. So the other thing is, I always used to, have that sign was there on the icebox. And whenever I would start articulating stuff or getting excited about stuff or start talking too much, he would point to the sign. Like we were eating dinner, right? And I would get excited about something. Oh, Ma, and he would just point to the sign. And the thing about him pointing to the sign was if I continued after he was pointing to the sign, he would grab the belt and he would walk me all the way down to the end of the hedges. So we had a I think 1.5 acre parcel on the beach, an estate. He used to walk me to the end of the thing and just whale me with the belt. Okay. You see, that was my medicine. My medicine was the belt. My medicine was sticks. My medicine was wooden spoons. My medicine was, you wouldn't believe it, the parade batons. My medicine was slippers and whatever. It doesn't matter. Things to hit a kid with. That was my medicine. Okay. And I'm not doing, like I said, I'm not doing this to make anybody, the villain or feel bad or anything. Okay. Now, my mom didn't do this. My mom did not do this, and she did not approve, but she couldn't stop him. She couldn't stop this guy. He was a big guy, but she just couldn't stop him. He just did what he wanted to do. Okay. And, I kind of picked up a lot of traits from him, I guess maybe because I was young, but I just do what I want to do. And nobody stops me. So I don't know how I say it. Maybe that's a learned, acquired behavior or whatever going on there. But yeah, anyway. So, and my mom tried to protect me a lot, right? But that didn't work. Now, I ran into guys later in life who told me stories about what happened to them, especially guys on the West Side. For you people outside of Hawaii, there's a place called the West Side on Oahu, and it's a very rugged place. And I remember this one guy telling his story in the radio station studio, off the air, not on the air, right? And he was telling his story one afternoon, and I sat in there, and when I walked out of that studio, I told myself, dude, you had no problems. You had no problem. Because he used to get empty beer bottles smashed on his head and then bleed from the glass. Okay, so that didn't happen to me, all right? But mine was more psychological and yeah, a little small kind physical. But you know what? All my friends got the belt. All of them. All of my friends, and they weren't all ADHD. A lot of them was normal guys. But they did stuff wrong, and when they did something wrong, they got the belt. That was the old school. This is a new day. Yeah, kids still get the belt. They still get, whatever, that kind of, they still get spankings, right? But here's the one thing that I made a change, because I firmly believe that if you want to see, you got to be the change in the world, okay? That you want to see in the world. There's an old expression like that, right? You got to be the change you want to see in the world. And I didn't hit my son. I hit my son one time because he took money from my girlfriend's purse. And I wanted him to know that it was wrong. And he just got like a couple whacks with the slipper. And he was 5 years old. And it did not take him it was more of a shock to him. It was more of a surprise. It didn't hurt him, like hurt him. It was more of a surprise to him. And he never did that again. And he never misbehaved again. And my son was like an angel when he was around me. And I never, even before that incident, he was always good. I asked him later on in life, when he was a man, and I said, how come, you were such a good kid around me? I said, I don't understand. And he goes, oh, because Dad, you was a big guy and I was scared. I was like, oh man, that's my boy. That was my baby when he was 5. That was my baby. You know what I mean? Anyway, so, but that, that happened, right? One time, because I vowed, like, hey, I'm not gonna hit kids. I'm not gonna, when I grow up, I have kids, not gonna hit them. The reason I didn't have any more kids is because after his mom took him and made him hate me, I'm like, no more kids. That's it. I'm not gonna go through this again. And and you might say, whoa, okay, right there, that's a psychological issue. No, it's not. It's like I'm done with this. I don't want to do it again. I'm like this with a lot of things, okay? And this is another thing that you don't know about me. If I do something and it gives me, let's say, a really bad result, okay? I learn from my mistakes. I learn from the things I do wrong, okay? And I probably won't do it again because I'm like, that was a waste. Or, that didn't turn out good. Okay, don't do it anymore. I'm not the kind of guy to whip a dead horse. I'm not the kind of guy to do it over and over again. I broke up with this one girlfriend I had, right? And years later, and I took care of her daughters at my school for free, like up until her oldest daughter graduated high school. And you're talking about years of time that I just gave because I didn't want those girls in trouble. I didn't want them running around and getting into trouble. So after school on Thursdays, they used to come to my office and sing and do all their creative stuff and, that kind of thing. That's what you got to do. You have to occupy kids and keep them out of trouble. But anyway, so that happened, right? And one day we were talking outside the office. The kids were inside singing and doing whatever they wanted to do. I just let them have the place. Go, just do whatever. And we were outside and she goes, why didn't you ever call me back? Why didn't you ever call me? And I said, because when I'm done, I'm done. I said, when I put my 100% in something and it doesn't turn out the way, I thought it would, or I wanted it to, or whatever. Hey, this is life. That things don't work like that, right? You plan something, it doesn't come out as planned. And I told you about that on other podcasts, right? So that's why now I hardly plan. I do just an outline. I focus on the goal, and God's job is the how, right? So I don't get involved in too much of the how anymore, or planning the how anyway. And so I told her, I said, I'm just done. When I'm done, I'm done. She's used to guys that when she breaks up with them, they chase her. And I don't know, they, oh, babe, come back. I'm like, nah, that's not me, Hawaiians. That's not me. I'm sorry, I'm not like that, okay? But anyway, so back to the story, right? So these things happen when I was young. You're talking 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, all the way up until 7, right? We were like with the wealthy guy, right? And I can't even tell you, Hawaiians. All I can tell you, Hawaiians, is my life changed the day my mom got married to him and has never went back. So I don't know the details. I don't want to know the details. I don't have to know the details. I don't care. But ever since then, like, everything has been, and when I say that, what I mean is, like, we never sat around wondering where money was coming from. We never sat around, like, we didn't need stuff. I mean, we always had. I don't know. My mom made everything manageable. I mean, she managed everything. She ran the house. She ran the finances. She did everything. She made sure I had the best of everything. She gave me the best of everything. And I think deep inside, she felt sorry. I think inside, and I think parents do this, right? If you're a parent, you probably identify with this. When something's wrong with your kid, or something's not right, or whatever, right? You kind of feel bad, and you want to make up for it, and you want to help out, or you want to whatever. Yeah. And I think that's what happened. Anyway, so this ADHD thing continues, and there's no medicine up until the time I was 12. Now, between 7 and 12, it got pretty bad. Okay. So we met these people, and there was nice local people, right? And I used to go spend time, weekends, and if my mom was on vacations, I used to go spend with them. And they were very strict, okay? And one of them is still alive. And I call her my auntie, and I love her. I love her because I got close to her because, even though we had drama, right? I mean, I got licking or whatever. It wasn't really her that did the licking. She did a lot of yelling, and she didn't do a lot of licking. But anyway, but I love her, and I still call her, and I still check up on her, and I love her like she's family. Okay. Now, if you're in a situation like this, you got to know that there are certain things that bond you, and some of the things that bond human beings is drama. Okay, so this is the comedy side of it, okay? When you go to a luau, a family luau, right? And you guys drink in the garage all night, right? And around 11:30, right? Somebody starts scrapping with somebody, right? And then, so if you guys are from outside Hawaii, maybe this happens a different way for you guys, but this is what happens in Hawaii, okay? So local people will start fighting, okay? They'll start fighting, not violent fighting, but just fighting, arguing. And then maybe there's a minor scuffle, right? And then everybody's like, whoa, hey. And they're holding them back and stuff, right? Like that. Because everybody's on alcohol and everybody's having, they're tripping out. Okay. And then, right? And then everybody's like, after they hold everybody back and whatever, and then the emotions come out and they go, bro, I love you. You guys are my family. You're that kind. And then what happens? Everybody makes up and everybody goes home happy and everybody hugs and right? So you bond. That bonding happens, right? So I don't know if people outside Hawaii, if you guys can identify with that, you people in Texas, in California. But anyway, that's what happens, okay? And it's funny because, it's the alcohol, right? And the alcohol brings out all those feelings. And first comes the anger, then comes the sentimentality, right? That kind of thing. But anyway, so that happened. Okay, those things happen. And me and my auntie bonded. She's not my real auntie, okay? But I love her like she was. So I always call her my second mom because she was my second mom. Okay, now, but the way that this happened, okay, when I was young, from 7 years old, it was like, hey, when I got out of line at my house, it was like, hey, you want to go so-and-so's house? And it became like a disciplinary action, that kind of thing, right? And my mom didn't know about it, okay? But this was going on between, other people. I really don't want to. I got to be careful because I don't want to hurt anybody, okay? But it was like, hey, you want to go so and so's house, and you better behave, right? And then the guy that used to really do stuff to me, right, used to be drinking with my dad, my stepdad, dad number 3, right? And then so the punishment would be to go over there, so I'd spend a weekend over there or whatever. Now during these weekends, and like I said, there's so much, people have gone through so much worse, okay? But I had ADHD, which made me more sensitive in the brain because my brain was not working right, okay? It still doesn't work. I'm gonna be like this till I die, okay? I don't take medicine. Well, I take medicine for something else now, okay? But the ADHD thing my brain just works like this. And I gotta tell you, Hawaiians, it's like, sometimes I stay up. Like the other night, okay? So this radio thing started up again, right? So the other night, I get this idea about this comedy stuff. Like, oh, this is funny. And I wrote, there's this comedian, like the most famous comedian in Hawaii. I wrote a lot of material for him on the album that made him famous, that he got a Hoku Award for, the first Hoku Award. And people don't know this. there's nobody know, and I don't care. I don't go around telling people that. But the reason I'm mentioning it is because it's important. Because I got this idea the other night, right? And I couldn't sleep because I was lying down on my bed with my iPhone, right, on the record mode, and then writing in my notes like all this material, and I was going through these things in my head, and I was writing comedy in my head, and I got so excited or amped up or whatever, like I was laughing, like I was literally laughing, making myself laugh, and I was writing them down. I'm like, okay, this is funny, this is gonna be funny, write them down. And I was writing them down, this could be funny, record this. I was recording it, okay? And then so as a result, I didn't go to sleep till like 3:30 in the morning, and I had to teach the next day. I had to teach the next day, and I was hanging. Okay, this wasn't an alcohol hangover. It was just I was tired, and I had to work. It was a Wednesday night, and I had to work on Thursday. And Thursday I worked. I have students back to back from 9 o'clock in the morning, because I do this. I push everything into 3 days a week so that I get the other days to work on my other businesses and stuff. So I had students from 9 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, like back to back, boom, 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 like that all the way. And by about 3:30 in the afternoon, I was delirious, and then my adrenaline came back, and then I was good, and then I was like, okay, finished out the night. But that kind of stuff happens to me. Sometimes I'll get an idea for a song. I haven't written music for a long time, especially after my best friend died. I haven't written music, and but I used to do that before. Like I get an idea and I grab the guitar, and sometimes I'll write 2 or 3 songs. I mean, the ideas just come, right? And what my friend now tells me is that, these are called downloads. These are, it's like being a psychic, right? You get downloads, you get these ideas that just come. And, I know it as the superconscious, right? The subconscious, superconscious. We went over that in another podcast for another purpose. But I'm just saying that this happens to me. Okay, so I have this overactive, hyperactive brain. And sometimes that brain just goes with ideas, and I have to write it down. But the good part about writing it down is I actually get somewhere with it. Like I'm making a lot of money off the recordings that I did, of writing songs for girls. I did 2 albums in 2021. And sorry, I had to drink water because this is a stretch with the podcast talking this whole time. Anyway, so but yeah, so I put them up. I put them up on iTunes, and they go on Amazon, and they sell, and it's just like a monthly deposit in the bank kind of thing for me. And I don't even pay attention. In fact, I haven't even checked on the royalty account. I have a special account. It's just for royalties. And I haven't checked on the account for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And then I go and look at it, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, take a chunk out of it, put it in Bitcoin. That's basically what I do. So anyway, so I would suggest that in the digital age, this is a side note, okay? This is my ADHD brain going, giving you value, okay? If you can, develop a digital product. I have a book, I have several albums. I think I have 5 albums, something like that. But develop digital products so that people can buy your stuff, so you can make money when you sleep, okay? And that way, you're sleeping, you're still making money, right? And residuals, and then you throw that into whatever you want. Okay, I throw it into investments. I throw it into Bitcoin or whatever. Yeah, Bitcoin's taking a beating right now, and that's okay, because it is what it is. Like the whole stock market will probably bottom out at some point. Whatever. We survived 2008 pretty good, so I'm not worried about it. But anyway, so back to the story. Now, this kind of thing was happening where when I misbehaved at my house, I got taken to this other house. And, I had to stand up in the laundry room, which was under a tin roof, at lunchtime, right? It was very hot. And hold up galvanized buckets. And so I had to hold up the galvanized buckets And when they got too heavy, I mean, okay, so these are empty buckets, right? But they get heavy fast sometimes. And when my arms went down enough, right, he would notice, and he would come over with a sewing yardstick. Now, sewing yardsticks are the thick ones. And because his daughter was sewing, she was taking sewing class, going to sewing school. And he would bring the sewing yardstick and whack me in the calves with it, and I would have to lift up the buckets. Now, I can tell you, and he passed away already. He's gone, okay? No, there's no animosity. There's just nothing. When my mom told me he died, I was like, oh, well, okay. There was nothing. There was no hatred. There was no, of course, there was no, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, too bad. You know, that kind, nothing. It was neutral. It was flat. It was just nothing, you know? And as a result, now, I cannot really lift weights too much. I tried to lift weights a lot, but because of those galvanized buckets when I was, I don't know, 8 years old, 9 years old, fourth grade time, it ruined my shoulders because of holding up the bucket. So something, I don't know, it's not rotator cuff. It's just, I cannot lift too much with my shoulders. I got to use a pillow at night, like underneath my arm, and then put my head on another pillow that's over my arm. And that's just, you know, I mean, don't feel bad for me. I don't feel bad. I feel comfortable like that. But that's just me. That's how I get along. Okay, now, a lot of us have different issues, right? But we get along. I know guys that lost legs to diabetes. They got to get along. You know, they're in their wheelchair. My uncle had strokes, and he's in his motorized wheelchair. And he drives to the bar, and he still drinks. Okay, so I'm just saying, we all get along with what we have and what happens to us. We make the best of it, and we keep going, right? All right. But stuff like that happen, okay? I'm not going to tell you the other stuff because it's like too crazy, okay? But it's not as crazy as, like I said, what I heard from this guy when I got older. And it was such a relief for me because I thought, right, because I'm not at everybody else's house. I only have my experience, and that's why I tell you guys on my podcast, I only share with you my experience, right? Because I don't know anybody else's experience. But in my experience, that was a big deal. In my experience, that was traumatic. And that's why when I heard that other guy's thing at the radio station and he was telling me about his experience, I was like, oh, like I was relieved. Not because he went through worse stuff, but because there was somebody else out there that this stuff was happening to that was even worse than me. And now I was like, I walked out going, hey, don't feel sorry for yourself because this is nothing. What happened to you is nothing compared to what happened to him. Like nothing happened to you. And I felt relieved. And that was like a breath of fresh air for me, okay? But these things happen. Abuse happens. So I was very badly physically abused to the point where I got popular, okay? I got popular at one point, and I went back to my island to do a baby party. And in the morning, I was with Brother Wayne, and we were coming out, and we were waiting for the valet to bring the rental car. And here comes one of this guy's nephews, right? And he actually was a nephew of his wife. And he comes to the parking lot, and he goes, hey, Junior, I just want to tell you, I'm really sorry for my family. I want to apologize. He said, you went through torture. And I was relieved at that point too, because I was like, wow, like at least other people knew. So there was a lot of people that knew that I was going through this thing. A lot of people knew I was being, well, if you want to say I was being tortured, that's an extreme word, but you know what? For me, for my ADHD brain, for being a 8-9-year-old kid, it was a big deal. It was really a big deal. It's not a big deal anymore. It hasn't been a big deal, ever since I told my mom. I think I told my mom when I was 21 or 22, and she was over here for an Aloha Week thing. And I told my mom, and I told her what happened. And she said, why didn't you tell me? And I said, well, because, and this is the old school, right? I said, well, because you guys told me, like, if anything happens to me and, I get licking or whatever when I come home and I complain about it or I tell you I'm going to get double licking. And that's what they did in the old school. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some old school people here listening and maybe you guys had the same experience. I don't know. But that's what prevented me from saying anything. It wasn't because the perpetrator was telling me, if you tell you, you're going to get worse. No, he didn't do that. He just did what he did. I mean, and for him, it was like he had no heart. He was just, I don't know. That's what it was like. But it wasn't like how you hear stories like when kids get what's that? The sexual predators, right? And they get violated. And then the guy goes, well, if you tell, I'm going to kill you or kill whatever, I'm going to do whatever. And I don't know. That's extreme, right? But you hear those stories, right? And when you hear those stories and you go, oh, no wonder the kid didn't say anything. He was being threatened. Okay, so I wasn't threatened. It was just like, I heard this, like, it was like a policy. It was like, you go out, you make trouble, you get licking, you come home, you tell the story, or you complain or whatever, that you got licking because you made trouble, you're going to get double licking. That's basically what it was. So I didn't say anything because I didn't want more. And not only that, I didn't want to say anything because they would send me right back. Not my mom, she didn't know. But my stepfather, he would, he would just go, okay, hey, take them down, whatever, drop them off for the weekend. And they used to go on trips. They used to go all over the world. They used to go Tahiti, whatever, Micronesia, like all over. And South Pacific kind of thing, Tahiti, all those, whatever. And during those trips, I was there praying, like, please, Mom, come home. Please, please come home, right? In the meantime, my overactive brain is doing all kinds of creative stuff, okay? And then things like they wouldn't let me watch cartoons. And I'm talking about the place that I went to, not my house. My house, I watch cartoons, but my mom turned it off after a while. Because here's the thing, right? I started watching, like I could do Porky Pig and I could do like Daffy Duck and I could do like Sylvester the Cat. And I used to do these things, but as a kid, you remember I was a kid, okay? This is like, you're talking 7, 8, 9 years old, okay? You're talking about a kid becoming the cartoon because it was fun. And I don't know if it was an escape from the reality of the abuse or whatever it was, right? But I was just like, wow, it's fun to be Sylvester the Cat. And I did it in my comedy routine in my show, and because I used to say, right, I used to walk into the kitchen and I used to walk up behind my mother and go, right? And my mother used to go, what? Like I broke your ass. Okay, that didn't happen. I added that to the comedy routine. That was me writing comedy. But I was like Sylvester the whole day, and what really irritated her sometimes was when I did Goofy. Yep, we're going to the zoo and then we're going to Japan. I used to do stuff like that, right? It used to just blow my mom's mind. And she was very serious. She wanted me to be an attorney. She had goals for me when I had none. My goal was to have fun and be the cartoon. I wanted to be the cartoon, right? When I got older, I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's jobs out there like I saw guys on TV that were doing comedy, that were doing singing, that were doing, these things that my brain could do. And then I saw Rich Little. I actually manifested that and met him in person and got an autograph from him. And he said, my voices are great. He said, keep them coming. Your voices are great. Keep them coming. And so my whole childhood was like living in my head, doing all this creative stuff. And then it wasn't until way later in life that I started to capitalize on it, that I started to make money on it, okay? And so, anyway, this kind of goes into when I, get to the point where I start getting in radio. And I go, wow, I could do this stuff on radio. I mean, but I went into radio not to do all that creative stuff. I went into radio because I thought, well, then I can be around the music guys, the music industry, the producers, right? The record companies, and eventually they would produce me. Because, I can do any kind. And at one point, when we pitched Vegas, And I'm going to do a podcast on it. We got turned down by the Vegas guys, Vegas mob. We got turned down by those guys. But that was only because I didn't have any numbers, any Ticketmaster numbers from North America. So like when you go to Vegas, right, they go, okay, what's his Ticketmaster numbers? Because they want to see if you can draw people, right? I'm from Hawaii. I never did anything like that. Never performed in North America. So they turned me down. It was a business thing. It wasn't because, they didn't like Hawaii people or anything or whatever. But anyway, Alliance, and what I'm telling you, and this is part 1. We are going to do parts of this because I want to get this out. Because if this helps anybody, if it helps somebody who's old now and you're looking back and you go, well, maybe for you it's like, oh yeah, I was like that too, and that was me, and then you don't feel bad. If it's for a kid, somebody, we have a lot of 28-year-olds. If it's one of you guys and you guys are going, wow, yeah, I kept this thing locked up inside of me and people thought I was crazy, so I stopped doing it. Don't stop doing it. Bring it out. Be who you are. Okay? But anyway, so this is what happened to me along the way. And yeah, this is only part 1. Part 2 is next, okay? But the reason I'm doing this is because my friend told me, bro, you gotta tell your story. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows you. They see your performances. They hear you on the radio. You don't put personal stuff on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else. Nobody knows you. And that's why people, they shy away from you because they don't know you. Because, it's like you're not a person. You're just, you're the wizard. Somebody called me the Wizard of Oz once, a long time ago. And then I started referring to myself as the wizard, right? And it was fun being the Wizard of Oz because I could do all this comedy stuff. I could do all this entertainment stuff, and I never hung out at the parties. I always left the parties right away. I did my stuff. I socialize, small kind, little bit, shake hands, and then boom, I'm gone. Okay. And I've kept to myself a lot. And when I met Wayne, okay, that's the next podcast. When I met Wayne and we got together, all we did was music. We just sat down, played music like all night. And he kept me out of trouble. He kept me away from a lot of stuff that would have probably gotten me in big trouble. Okay. And he kept me away from that stuff. So what we did was we blocked out the world for 30 years. I blocked out the world for 30 years. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about. There's a lot of stuff that happened in the world that I have no idea. Because our world was music and focusing on doing a show. And eventually it materialized and we did a show. And we did the Waikiki show and all of that. I mean, everything. We got the wedding and party business. Like everything happened. All the dreams that we had materialized. Not in the way that, we wanted. But you know what? We didn't get involved with all that other stuff. Like I told you on the other podcast. The drugs and all that stuff. We didn't have to do that. Okay, we did our own thing. It was actually a wedding and party business instead of, a big record company or whatever. But anyway, on the next podcast, I'm going to continue the story. Okay, and I'm going to tell you guys who I am and what I am. And what I am is a guy with an ADHD brain that, works against me a lot. And it takes a lot for me to calm that brain down. Okay, but yeah. On the next podcast, I'm going to tell you guys about something that happened and which really seemed like, okay, we're going to do his mom a favor and we're going to give him this PCP, this angel dust in a marijuana joint. We're going to tell him to smoke the joint and it will make him a vegetable. Okay. And what really happened, Hawaiians, was I took 2 hits and the sun started dancing and I was like, something's wrong. And I threw it away. Okay. That's on the next podcast coming up. All right. But the purpose of the podcast, like I said, is not to make anybody responsible or a villain or feel bad or anything. Okay. It's just to because when I heard these stories, from other people who went through this kind of stuff and they go, wow, yeah. And they told me their stories and I'm like, oh, wow, it's not just me. So this might, benefit you guys. And then you guys can get a glimpse into the me that nobody knows. You know, like that musical, The Me That Nobody Knows. Yeah, there is a me that nobody knows. And I'm only telling you guys here on the podcast. I'm not putting it up on Facebook and all this kind of crap. No. You guys listen to the podcast, you guys will get it. If you guys tell other people who listen to the podcast, they'll get it. Okay, but it is what it is. And this is who I am, and this is all I am. But yeah, there's a positive and negative side to everything, okay, Hawaiians? And that's all you gotta know, because once you know, oh, sorry, Hawaiians, I gotta go. The next podcast, Hawaiians, okay, part 2, yep, I'm gonna tell you guys, no worries. Hey, want to thank our sponsors, Island Club and Spa, Voice Master, Family of Service Companies, and AFM Hawaii Music at afmhawaiimusic.com. Until next time, I'm Junior saying mahalo and aloha.